The human ship floated quietly in the black sea of space, its silver body shone against the stars. A lonely traveler moving toward a world no man had ever touched before. The planet below was not small, not weak, but alive with light. Rivers of fire glowed across its surface, and the oceans reflected strange colors that no Earth sky had ever shown. From the windows of the ship, the crew stared in silence. They knew this was not just another world. This was the world of the alien empire. Among the crew stood one man who could not take his eyes away. His name was Daniel, a soldier, a traveler, a man who had seen many battles. But never before had his heart beaten this way. It was not fear. Though there was reason for fear, it was not anger, though enemies waited below. No, this was something else, something he could not explain, that the captain spoke with a strong voice, warning the crew about the dangers. Remember, we are guests here. No mistakes, no foolish moves. The aliens are powerful, and they watch everything. His eyes scanned each face, but when they stopped at Daniel, he seemed unsure. Daniel gave a small nod, but inside his chest, his heart was heavy. The ship broke through the clouds, and the alien city came into view. Towers of crystal reached high into the sky, catching the sun and bending the light into colors too bright to look at. The streets below were alive with beings unlike humans. Their skin shimmered faintly as if light lived under it. Their eyes glowed like small stars. Their movements were graceful, slow, and calm, yet every step carried strength. Daniel pressed his hand against the window. He whispered under his breath, "Beautiful." No one heard him. Or maybe someone did, but no one replied. When the ship landed on the great stone platform, soldiers in silver armor surrounded it. Their weapons glowed with quiet power. Humming in the air like living fire, the human crew walked down carefully, keeping their hands visible, their heads slightly bowed. Daniel followed, but his eyes searching for something he did not yet understand. And then he saw her. At the far end of the platform, standing under the golden arch of the palace gate, was the alien princess. She wore a crown of shining jewels, each one glowing as if made from stars themselves. Her gown fell like liquid silver, moving even when the air was still. But none of this was what captured Daniel's heart. It was her face. She looked young, but her beauty was unlike any human girl. Her skin carried a faint glow, smooth and flawless. Her eyes were wide, bright, and filled with secrets. When she turned her head, her hair caught the sunlight like strands of fire and ice mixed together. For one breathless moment, she looked directly at Daniel. His heart stopped. Her eyes met his, and it was as if the whole world disappeared. He felt no sound, no ground under his feet, no air in his lungs, only her, only that gaze. Calm and strong, and somehow sad. She looked at him not as a stranger, not as an enemy, but as if she had known him long ago. Daniel swallowed hard. He looked away quickly, afraid the others would notice, but the feeling would not leave him. It burned inside, sharp and powerful, more dangerous than any weapon. The captain whispered to the crew, "Do not stare. Do not speak unless spoken to." His warning was clear, but Daniel's thoughts were already lost. The alien guards led the humans through wide halls of stone and light. The palace was alive with gold and crystal, with shadows moving under tall ceilings and glowing lamps. Every step echoed like thunder. The crew walked in silence, but Daniel could not silence the storm inside him. He felt as if something had started the moment her eyes touched his, something that could not be stopped. At last, they entered the throne room. The alien king sat high above, his crown larger, his eyes brighter, his presence heavy like a mountain pressing down on their shoulders. The humans bowed deeply, waiting for words, but Daniel did not see the king. His eyes searched for her. The princess stood to the side, half in shadow, her face calm, and yet, when no one was watching, her eyes lifted to his once more. Just for a second, just enough to break him. Daniel's hands shook at his sides. His lips moved without sound. His heart whispered words he dared not speak aloud. "I wish I could marry her." He did not know why those words came. He did not understand why they felt so real, so impossible, and yet so true. All he knew was that his life had changed, forever, and as if she had heard, The alien girl smiled. The night was quiet, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the silence of secrets. Daniel lay in the guest quarters given to the humans inside the alien palace. The room was large, more beautiful than anything he had ever known, with walls carved from shining stone and windows glowing softly with alien light. But Daniel did not sleep. He could not. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face, the alien princess, that look, that smile. It burned in his thoughts like a fire that would never go out. He turned on the bed, restless. The captain's warning echoed in his mind, stay away. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not stare. But how could he follow such orders? He had already stared. He had already wished for the impossible, and in her smile, he thought he saw something more than ceremony. He thought he saw an answer. Unable to fight the feeling, Daniel rose. The guards outside the door were quiet, and he moved carefully, his steps light against the polished floor. He told himself he only wanted to breathe, only wanted to see the night sky of this strange world. But his heart told the truth. It was pulling him somewhere, pulling him to her. The palace garden was alive under the stars. Silver trees bent low with glowing fruit. Streams of light, not water, flowed along the paths, whispering like living rivers. Flowers opened even in darkness, their colors too strange for earth eyes to name. The air was cool, but Daniel's skin burned with tension. He felt he should turn back, that one wrong step here could end his life. Yet he walked on, and then there she was. The princess stood near a tall fountain, its waters rising high before falling in glowing waves. Her crown was gone, and her gown was simpler now, though still more beautiful than any cloth Daniel had seen. She looked less like a ruler and more like a dream. Daniel froze, breath caught in his chest. He had not planned for this. He had not dared hope for this. But she was here, and she was alone. Her eyes lifted, calm and sharp, and they met his again. This time she did not look away. You should not be here, she said softly. Her voice carried across the garden like music. Not harsh, not angry, but filled with meaning. I know, Daniel answered, his throat dry. He felt like a fool. A soldier who had faced death many times was now afraid of words. Yet he could not stop himself. I had to see you. The princess tilted her head slightly, studying him. Her face revealed nothing, but her eyes held a spark. Why? What do you hope to find? Daniel struggled for the right words. He wanted to say everything, that he could not stop thinking of her, that her smile had broken something inside him, that he wished he could stand beside her, not as a stranger but as more. But those words were too heavy, too wild. So he said the only truth he could manage. You looked at me, he whispered, when no one else did. You looked like you knew me. For a long moment, she was silent. The fountain's glow painted her skin in silver light, making her look less like flesh and more like a star-given form. At last, she spoke. Perhaps. I did, she said. Daniel's heart leaped, but his fear returned at once. If anyone finds me here, they will kill you, she finished calmly. Yes, I know. Her words should have made him turn and run, but her voice was steady, almost gentle, as if she did not wish to frighten him, only to remind him of the danger. Daniel took a step closer. Then why are you here alone? Why now? The princess's eyes softened, though her lips held no smile this time. Because I am watched every moment of my life. Here, in the quiet, I can be myself, and perhaps meet those I should not. Her words wrapped around him like chains and wings at the same time. He felt trapped, yet also free. He knew this was wrong, that it could end in blood, but he could not turn away. Not now. I don't understand, he whispered. You will, she said, but not tonight. She looked away, toward the fountain, and for the first time, Daniel thought he saw something fragile in her, something lonely. Silence stretched between them, heavy and delicate. Every heartbeat echoed in his ears, and then, without planning, without thought, he moved closer, his voice shaking with the weight of everything he felt. I wish I could marry you, he whispered. The words escaped like a secret he had carried all his life. He expected her to laugh, to turn away, to call the guards, but she did not. Instead, slowly, the alien girl turned back to him, Her lips curved into a smile, soft and strange, filled with mystery. Her eyes shone like stars caught in tears of fire, and then, with a voice that felt both tender and powerful, she spoke the words that would change his world forever. "Then you shall." Daniel's breath caught. His mind screamed that it was impossible, insane, a dream. But his heart believed. In that moment, standing under alien stars, he felt as if the universe itself had shifted. And though danger waited in every shadow, though their lives were no longer safe, he knew one thing with certainty: his story with her had only just begun. Daniel did not sleep that night, even when he returned to his quarters. Even when he lay down on the soft alien sheets, his heart refused to rest. Her words kept circling in his mind, pulling him deeper into a storm he could no longer escape. "Then you shall." Those 3 words were impossible. They were dangerous. But they were also alive with promise. They carried power. As if the universe itself had stopped to listen. He felt like a man standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing the fall would break him, yet unable to turn back because the air beyond the edge was too sweet to resist. The morning came, and with it, ceremony. The humans were led through halls brighter than the sun, each step echoing under tall crystal arches. Guards stood like statues, their eyes glowing faintly, their hands resting on weapons that hummed with hidden fire. The alien king sat high, on his throne, speaking words of peace, of trade, of promises between species. The crew listened, nodding, waiting for the future to be shaped. But Daniel heard nothing. His eyes found her again. The princess stood near her father, her face calm, unreadable. She looked like a statue carved from starlight, perfect and distant. And yet, for the smallest moment, her eyes flickered to him, just one glance, so quick it could have been imagined. But Daniel knew. She had not forgotten. He shifted uncomfortably, afraid someone else had seen. His captain noticed his distraction and gave him a sharp look, one that carried warning and anger. Daniel lowered his head, forcing himself to breathe slowly. But inside, the fire burned hotter. The day stretched on. Meetings, speeches, feasts with food that glowed faintly under the light. The other humans whispered among themselves, trying strange drinks, touching strange fabrics. But Daniel's thoughts never left her. The memory of that secret meeting in the garden returned again. And again, her voice, soft as wind, her smile, quiet but full of meaning. When evening finally came, Daniel slipped away once more. He knew it was reckless. He knew the guards were sharper now, their eyes following every shadow. Yet something stronger than fear drove him forward. It was not only desire, it was a pull, a force he could not fight. He felt as if their meeting was not chance, but fate. The garden was empty when he arrived, the fountain glowing with silver light. For a moment, he feared she would not come, that last night had been nothing more than a dream. He stood waiting, every second heavier than the last. Then footsteps echoed, soft, careful, yet certain, and there she was again, moving like a vision. Through the glowing trees. "You came," Daniel whispered. "And you should not be here," she replied, though her voice carried no anger. Her eyes met his with that same strange fire. "If they discover this, it will mean the end for you." "I know," Daniel said. His hands trembled, though he tried to still them. "But I had no choice. After what you said." Her lips curved, a faint smile that could break a man's heart. "You believed me." "I don't know what to believe," Daniel admitted. His voice was raw, full of truth. "But I know I can't forget. Not your words, not your eyes, not the way it felt when you looked at me." The princess moved closer, her steps slow, almost hesitant. The silver light wrapped around her, making her seem half real, half dream. She stopped just a breath away. Daniel could feel the warmth of her presence, the energy of her skin. "You are human," she said softly, "and I am not. Do you understand what that means?" "I understand," Daniel said. His voice shook, but his eyes did not turn away. "It means everything is against us, but it doesn't matter." For the first time, her smile deepened. A true smile, filled with something more than mystery. It was almost sad, yet also alive with hope. "You are bold," she whispered. "Bold and foolish." Daniel laughed once, nervously. "Maybe, but I meant what I said. I wish I could marry you." Silence fell between them. The fountain's glow shimmered, the air heavy with tension. She studied him, her gaze sharp yet soft, filled with something he could not name. Then she repeated the words that had haunted him since the night before. "Then you shall, this time." Her voice carried more weight. It was not a passing whisper. It was a promise, a vow. Daniel's chest tightened, and for a moment, he felt like the universe had shifted again. Yet fear struck him too. He could not stop himself from asking, how? How could that ever be possible? Her eyes darkened, and she looked away, as if shadows pressed too close. "It will not be easy. My people would never allow it. Your people would never accept it. The path ahead is dangerous, but sometimes destiny does not wait for permission." Her words sent a shiver through him. She was not speaking of dreams. She was speaking of truth, of a road they might actually walk. Daniel reached out slowly, his hand trembling, until it hovered near hers. He did not dare touch, not yet. "If you mean this, if you truly mean it, then I will follow you anywhere." The princess looked down at his hand, then back into his eyes. For the smallest second, her fingers brushed against his. A touch so light, yet it struck him harder than any battle wound. "You may regret those words," she whispered, "but tonight they are enough." And then, like the night before, she turned and vanished into the shadows of the garden, leaving Daniel standing alone under alien stars. But he was no longer the same man. He was a man who had been given a promise, one that could break him, or carry him into a future beyond anything he had ever imagined. The days that followed were heavy with silence. On the surface, everything looked calm. The humans continued their meetings with the alien leaders. Words of peace were spoken. Trade promises were discussed, and ceremonies filled the long halls of the palace. But beneath all the gold and light, danger was growing. Daniel felt it in every step. The guards were sharper now, their glowing eyes watching more closely. The halls no longer felt welcoming. They felt like cages. Every sound echoed louder, as if the walls themselves whispered warnings. But none of this could silence what had already begun inside him. Every time he saw the princess standing near her father, every time her eyes flickered toward him for even a heartbeat, Daniel felt the bond growing stronger. It was madness. It was impossible. But it was real. One night, as the crew gathered in their quarters, the captain pulled Daniel aside. His voice was low, but his eyes burned with anger. "I've seen the way you look at her," he said. "Stop it. Stop now, or you will bring ruin on all of us." Daniel tried to deny it, but the words died on his tongue. The captain's jaw tightened. "Do you think they don't notice? Do you think her father doesn't see? You are a soldier, Daniel, not a prince in some fairy tale. Forget her. Do you hear me? Forget her." But Daniel could not forget. The memory of her whisper, the promise of her smile, lived deep inside him. That night he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, and for the first time he understood the truth. This was not just desire. This was destiny. The next day brought more tension. As the humans entered the throne room, whispers filled the air. Alien nobles stood along the walls, their glowing eyes sharp, their voices like wind through glass. Daniel could not understand the language, but he understood the tone: suspicion, disgust, warning. The princess stood silent near the throne. She wore a crown again, heavy with jewels, her gown bright as liquid fire. Her face was calm, but Daniel thought he saw something behind her eyes: fear, not for herself, but for him. And then he realized they knew. Not everything, not yet, but enough to sense the dangerous thread between them. When the meeting ended, the humans were escorted back to their quarters. The air was thick, the guards' eyes harder than before. Daniel felt each step like a hammer striking the floor. The weight of destiny pressed on his shoulders. That night, he did not seek her. He stayed in his room, pacing, restless, fighting himself. He knew if he went to the garden again, it would be the end. The guards were waiting. The palace was awake. But the silence was worse than death. His heart screamed for her voice, her touch, her promise. Finally, he sat by the window, staring at the alien sky. Twin moons hung above, casting silver light over the city. Far below, the towers glowed like living fire, and in that moment, Daniel whispered the words again. Though no one could hear, "I wish I could marry her." the sound of his own voice, broke something inside him. It was not a dream anymore. It was not a fantasy. It was a truth he could not run from. He would not. The next evening, he was summoned by the alien council. The summons was formal, but Daniel felt the danger behind it. He walked through the crystal halls under the watch of guards, every step echoing like judgment. Inside the council chamber, the air was sharp and cold. The alien king sat high, his gaze burning. Nobles surrounded him, their whispers filling the room like knives. The princess stood apart, her eyes locked on the floor. The king's voice was deep, shaking the walls. Daniel did not understand the words, but he understood the anger. A translator whispered in his ear, "You are watched. You will obey. You will not step beyond your place." Daniel bowed his head, but his heart raged. He could feel her eyes, though she never lifted them. He wanted to shout, to fight, to break free, but he said nothing. Not yet. When he returned to his quarters, the captain grabbed his arm. "This is finished," he hissed. "You're dragging us all into the fire. Do you want to start a war over a girl? Do you want to die for a smile?" Daniel's voice was quiet, but firm. "Yes, if it's her smile." The captain stared at him as if he had lost his mind. Maybe he had, but Daniel knew what he felt, and he knew that even if the weight of an empire pressed down on him, he would not step back. That night, as he closed his eyes, a sound broke the silence, a whisper at his door. When he opened it, she was there, the princess, her face pale, her eyes alive with fear and fire. "They know," she said softly, "but I don't care. Do you still mean it? Do you still wish it?" Daniel's answer came without thought, without hesitation. "Yes," and for the first time, her hand took his fully, warm and trembling. "Then our fate is sealed," she whispered. "We must choose, run from it, or face it together." Daniel's heart thundered. He knew the path ahead would be darker than anything he had faced, but with her hand in his, he felt stronger than ever before. The weight of destiny had fallen, and there was no turning back. The palace no longer felt like a place of beauty. Every golden wall, every glowing lamp, every shining hall now felt like a prison built of light. Guards moved like shadows, their glowing eyes never blinking, their steps echoing louder than before. Daniel knew they were watching him. He also knew they were watching her. But that night, when the moons rose over the alien city, he found himself walking once again into the garden. His heart told him she would be there, and his heart was right. She stood by the fountain, her silver gown flowing like water, her hair catching the moonlight. But tonight, she was not calm. Her eyes darted toward the shadows, her breath quick, her hands trembling slightly. When she saw him, she stepped forward with urgency. "They will not stop," she whispered. "Every day. They watch more closely. My father suspects. The council whispers. Soon they will move against you, against us." Daniel's chest tightened. He had known this, but hearing it from her made the danger real. "Then tell me what to do," he said. His voice was firm, though inside he shook. "Tell me how to protect us." The princess looked at him for a long time, her eyes full of sadness and fire. "You cannot protect us," she said softly. "Not here. Not inside these walls." "Then, where?" Daniel asked. Her lips trembled, then steadied. "We must leave. We must run before they lock me in chains of duty, before they put you in chains of death." The words struck him hard. Running meant betrayal. It meant turning against everything his captain, his people, his orders. But looking at her, Daniel knew there was no other choice. "Then we leave," he whispered. Her eyes widened, searching his face. "You mean it?" Daniel stepped closer, close enough to see the faint glow of her skin, to feel the warmth that radiated from her presence. "I meant it the night I whispered. I meant it when you smiled. And I mean it now. If running is the only way to be with you, then I will run." For the first time, she let out a breath that was almost a laugh, a sound filled with relief and fear all at once. "That it is decided," she said. "We will make a pact. Here, tonight, no matter what happens, we will not turn back." They stood together under the moons, the garden glowing around them like a dream. Daniel held out his hand. Slowly, she placed hers in his. Her fingers were warm, soft yet strong, trembling yet unyielding. I swear, Daniel said, his voice low, but clear. I will not leave you. Not for war, not for death, not for anything. Whatever happens, I will face it with you. The princess's eyes glistened, though no tear fell. And I swear, she whispered, I will not let them take you from me. Not my father, not the council, not the empire itself. If I must fight my own people, I will. If I must lose my crown, I will, for you. Their hands tightened, their pact sealed not with ceremony, but with truth. But before they could speak more, the sound of footsteps broke the silence. Daniel pulled her closer, hiding in the shadow of the silver trees. Guards passed near the fountain, their glowing armor casting light across the ground. They paused, scanning the garden, their voices sharp in the alien tongue. Daniel's heart pounded like a drum, his grip on her hand fierce. At last, the guards moved on. The garden fell silent once more. The princess looked at Daniel, her face pale. We cannot wait long, she whispered. The council meets again tomorrow. They will decide my future, and it will not include you. We must prepare. Prepare. How? Daniel asked. She drew closer, her voice so soft it was almost lost to the wind. I know secret paths under the palace. I know the gates that lead to the outer city. If we move quickly, we can escape. But we must be ready for the chase. Daniel's mind spun, but his heart was steady. Then tell me what to do. I will follow. Her eyes held his, strong and steady now. Tomorrow night, after the council. Be ready. He nodded, though the weight of the decision pressed like stone. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, he would betray his orders, his captain, his world. But tomorrow, he would choose her. As they stood in silence, the fountain's glow wrapped around them, painting their faces in silver light. For one fragile moment, the world felt theirs. No king, no council, no empire could break what they had just sworn. But deep inside, Daniel knew the truth. Their pact was not freedom yet. It was only the first step. The chase would come. The danger would grow, and love, no matter how strong, would be tested against fire and steel. Yet when he looked at her, when he felt her hand in his, Daniel believed. He believed that even against the stars, their promise would hold. And in the quiet garden, under the watchful moons, two worlds were forever bound by a whisper and a vow. The palace never slept, but that night it felt alive with more than light. The air was tense, sharp with whispers, the walls humming as if the stones themselves carried warning. Daniel waited in his quarters, every sound making his heart jump. He had never feared battle, but this was different. This was not war against armies. This was war against fate itself. When the door finally opened, she was there. The princess moved quickly, her gown replaced with a simpler cloak, her crown gone, her face shadowed by fear and fire. She raised a hand before he could speak. No words. Follow me. He obeyed without question. They slipped through narrow halls, past guards who stood like statues, their eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The princess led him downstairs hidden behind walls, into tunnels that smelled of dust and age. The sound of their footsteps echoed softly, but even that felt too loud. Daniel's chest tightened. At any moment, discovery meant death. He kept his eyes on her, her cloak brushing against the stone, her movements steady even in the shadows. She knew the way. They reached a door carved with strange markings. She pressed her hand against it, and the stone shifted, sliding open silently. Beyond was the outer city, alive with the glow of strange fires, the sound of voices, the movement of life. For a moment, Daniel felt hope. They had made it. But then, a voice shouted behind them. Guards. The princess grabbed his hand, pulling him into the street. The city was alive even in the night. Towers of crystal rose high above. Bridges stretched across glowing rivers, and alien citizens filled the paths. Gasps spread as they saw the princess running with a human at her side. Whispers turned into cries, and then the sound of pursuit. The guards poured into the street, their glowing armor cutting through the crowd. Weapons hummed, sharp beams of light flashing as they shouted orders. The citizens scattered, their voices rising in fear. Run, the princess cried, pulling Daniel through the chaos. They raced through narrow alleys, past glowing fountains, under bridges lit by silver lamps. Daniel's heart thundered, but his legs carried him forward. Behind them, The guards grew closer, their steps pounding like drums. They turned sharply, climbing a set of stone stairs that wound upward. From the top, Daniel saw the city stretching out like a sea of light. For a second, he almost stopped, struck by the beauty of it. But the sound of pursuit shattered the moment. The princess led him across a bridge of glass that shimmered under their feet. Arrows of light shot past, striking the sides, sending sparks into the night. Daniel ducked, pulling her close, shielding her as best he could. They reached the other side, plunging into another maze of streets. The guards were relentless. Their glowing eyes never lost the trail. Daniel's breath burned in his chest, but he refused to slow. Not now. Not when freedom was so close. They darted into a market, stalls still open even at night. Frightened merchants pulled back, shouting as the pair pushed through. Fruit of strange colors spilled across the ground. Glass jars shattered, sending light spilling like liquid. The crowd panicked, running in every direction. The princess pulled Daniel down another alley, her face pale but determined. Almost there, she whispered. "Where?" He gasped. "The gates," she said. "If we reach them, we have a chance." But the sound behind them grew louder. The guards were gaining, and now more joined from ahead, blocking paths, cutting off escape. Daniel grabbed her hand tighter. "We can't outrun them forever." She looked at him, her eyes burning. "Then we don't, we fight." Daniel's heart pounded. He had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his will. But he nodded. If this was the end, then he would stand with her until his last breath. The guards closed in, their glowing blades humming. The alley filled with light and shadows. Daniel stepped forward, ready to throw himself into the storm. But before the clash, the princess raised her hand. A sudden wave of light burst from her palm, a force that struck the guards back. They stumbled, their weapons clattering, their glowing eyes wide. With shock, Daniel stared at her, stunned. "You, later," she cried, grabbing his hand again. "Run." They burst from the alley into the wide streets that led to the gates. The massive doors rose high, carved with symbols that glowed faintly. Hope surged in Daniel's chest. Freedom was so close. But as they neared, more guards blocked the way. Dozens this time, their weapons ready, their stance unyielding. The princess slowed, her breath ragged, her face pale but fierce. Daniel stopped beside her, his chest burning, his body trembling. There was no way through, no path left, only walls of glowing steel. The guards advanced, their voices echoing in the alien tongue. Daniel stepped closer to the princess, ready to shield her with his life. His heart thundered with both fear and love. And then, above the noise, a voice rose, cold, commanding, powerful, the alien king. His figure appeared at the top of the stairs near the gate, his crown blazing, his eyes burning like fire. He raised a hand, and the guards stopped. Silence fell heavy on the streets. The princess gripped Daniel's hand tightly, her eyes never leaving her father's. Her voice was a whisper only Daniel could hear. "This is it. We cannot run anymore. Now we face them." Daniel swallowed hard, his body shook, but his heart was steady. Whatever came next, Jane's death, or something worse, he knew he would not face it alone. And together, under the burning eyes of the king, they waited for destiny to strike. The street was silent except for the sound of Daniel's heartbeat. The glowing guards surrounded them, their blades humming, their armor shining under the moons. At the top of the stairs stood the alien king, his crown blazing like fire, his eyes locked on his daughter. The princess did not move. Her hand stayed tight in Daniel's, her face calm though her body trembled. She looked at her father as if she had been waiting for this moment. Her entire life. The king's voice rolled through the night, deep and sharp. The words were alien, but Daniel understood the meaning in his bones. The king was demanding, commanding, warning. A father who saw betrayal, a ruler who saw treason. The translator in Daniel's ear hissed the words, "You shame us, you shame me. End this now, or I will end you both." The princess lifted her chin. Her voice was steady, carrying across the crowd. "I choose him." Gasps filled the night. Nobles whispered from the balconies. The guards shifted uneasily, their glowing eyes flicking between king and princess. Daniel's chest tightened, but pride swelled inside him. She was not afraid. Not of her father. Not of the empire. She stood as if the stars themselves bent to her will. The king's eyes burned brighter. He raised his hand, and the guards stepped forward, weapons lifted, the sound of power humming through the air. Daniel moved instinctively, stepping in front of her, ready to take the blow, but the princess's voice cut through the night. Stop her. Hand rose, glowing with light, brighter than the guards' weapons. A wave of energy rippled out, shaking the stones beneath their feet. The guards froze, their blades trembling. The king lowered his hand, his eyes narrowing. You defy me? His voice roared. I defy the chains you place on me, she answered. I will not be a crown without choice. I will not be a daughter without freedom. I love him. And if you kill him, you kill me too. Daniel stared at her, stunned. She had said the words openly, in front of the empire, in front of her father. Love. The word rang like thunder, unstoppable, undeniable. The crowd whispered louder now. Some gasped in anger, others in awe. The guards hesitated, caught between orders and fear. The king's face darkened, his jaw tight. For a long moment, he said nothing. The silence pressed heavy, thicker than any battle Daniel had faced. Then, slowly, the king stepped forward. His crown glowed brighter, his presence filling the space like a storm. You speak of love, the king said, his voice cold. Love for a human, a stranger, a soldier who belongs to another world. Do you think love can break the weight of 1,000 years of rule? The princess did not look away. Yes, I do. Daniel found his own voice then. He stepped forward, his chest burning, his words raw. I love her. I am no prince, no ruler, but I will stand with her, even if it costs me my life. I don't care about your throne, your power, your war. I care only for her. The words hung in the air, heavy and sharp. Daniel's knees shook, but he held his ground. The king stared at him, unblinking. For a moment, Daniel thought it was the end. The king would give the order, the guards would strike, and everything would fall to blood. But then, something shifted. The fire in the king's eyes dimmed, just slightly. His shoulders lowered. His gaze moved to his daughter, and for the first time, there was no anger. There was sadness. You remind me of her, he said quietly, almost to himself. The princess frowned. Of who? Your mother, the king said. His voice broke for just a breath. She'd have defied me. She'd have spoke of love above duty. Silence wrapped the street again. The guards waited. The crowd leaned forward. Daniel's breath caught at last. The king let out a long, heavy sigh. He turned away, his crown dimming. If this is your choice, then so be it. But know this love will not protect you from the world. The stars are cruel. They will test you both. The guards lowered their weapons. The crowd erupted in whispers. The princess's hand tightened in Daniel's, her eyes shining with tears. She would not let fall. Daniel could hardly believe it. They were alive. More than that. They were together. Against all odds, against the empire, against fate itself, they had won. The king did not bless them, did not smile, did not approve, but he allowed it. And in that allowance, the impossible became real. The princess turned to Daniel, her smile soft, filled with both triumph and sorrow. She whispered the words once more, the words that had started everything. Then you shall. Daniel pulled her close, his heart racing, his eyes burning. For the first time, he let himself believe that love could conquer fear, believe that their vow could survive the stars. The crowd watched, the city glowed, the moon shone above. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not war, not power, not the future, only them.